Hey everybody,
Hey.
we're back. I know we kind of took a break from Tuesday Talks for a while with the holidays, and then we got the store.
Yay!
And we've been working like crazy in there, but we are back with Tuesday Talks, and wow, we all match. This was not done on purpose.
We look like a Valentine heart.
We do. We do. This literally just happened organically.
Stop it.
Anyways, yeah, we thought today we would start off the new year with a whopping topic of forgiveness. Yes. And I think forgiveness is something that I never really had anyone give me an actual teaching on in the beginning. You know what I mean? It's like something I had to learn and grow through in process. But as I've learned and grown through it, it's not at all what I thought it was. It's not at all what I thought it would be. And so we just thought that we would share some of the stuff that we've learned about forgiveness along the way. And hopefully these guys will talk also.
Two also as well.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly, I might maybe.
Might add a little bit in there. So obviously forgiveness is something that is very big to God's heart. You know, it's huge to his heart. Jesus tells his disciples that if you don't forgive, your Father in heaven won't forgive you. You know, man, that's a tough one.
What's that one? Those who are forgiven much love much.
Yes, those who are forgiven much love much. And then he goes into the parable about, the guy who owed this huge debt and he couldn't pay it, and the king was going to throw him into prison. And, he was like, please, give me grace, give me mercy. And the king gave him grace and mercy. And then he had a friend who owed him a little bit of money. And he was like, I'm going to throw you in prison for not paying me.
And beat him.
And went out and beat him, And, then someone heard and told the king what had happened. And the king threw him and his whole family and everybody into prison. And that's a picture of us with forgiveness. We have this huge debt with God. This huge debt with him. We've been sinning our whole lives. And God has grace and mercy on us, and somebody talks about us sideways or is a little rude to us, and we don't forgive them of that, right?
And I'm glad that you said, how he brought up how he threw his whole family in jail, because really unforgiveness is like locking yourself in a jail. You're not hurting other people for them. You know what I mean? Like there are sometimes unforgiveness when you're clearly, first of all, you can't outwardly express those things to people in an unfriendly manner. You're hurting other people in that sense. But there are some situations that you don't ever see those people again, and yet somehow you hold on to this unforgiveness in your heart, and it grows and it festers, and it's only hurting you. So,
well, and there's even the part of the picture where he throws his whole family into prison. Like when you are holding on to unforgiveness, your family is affected by it. Your friends are affected by it. The people around you are affected by it,
Lesson to learn. Everything you think you're hiding really well inside, you're not.
Yes. Lesson number 1 for the video. Whatever you think you're hiding, you're not. You're really leaking it onto the people around you.
Ooh, tell the paint thing you always used to tell us.
Oh, yes. So yes, let me tell you. So you spill a paint can, right? And you think it's just my mess. It's just my problem. But when you spill a paint can, it splatters on the people around you. You have to clean up your mess. And then you have to go to the people that it's splattered on and clean them up too, right?
And I think also what you have taught me in counseling was that it's just not a one-time forgiveness.
Yes.
It is a daily forgiveness, because I've realized even in my personal life that I say that I forgive people, and I felt like I have, and then I forgave people, but then something comes up or I see these people and then it just comes, it floods right back, and realizing, oh my gosh, I did not forgive, but I have to forgive over and over again.
Yes.
It's even with my husband, forgiving over and over again, because how much do I want that forgiveness as well from my Father? I mean, holding that back from other people, that's holding it back from me,
I think that brings me to the 2 misconceptions that I had about forgiveness. And the first misconception is what you said. I thought that if I just prayed a prayer the right way, if I just did enough heart work, if I just did whatever, that forgiveness would just break and it would just happen and that would be it. And I would just walk in forgiveness and it would all be better and everything would be good. I was wrong. Forgiveness is a choice that you have to continue to make over and over and over again. You know, I choose to forgive you right now. I choose to forgive you 5 minutes from now. I choose to forgive you 3 days from now. You know, like you have to keep making that choice because your heart is going to try and keep slipping back into the bitterness and the anger and the unforgiveness. And you have to keep saying, no heart, we choose to forgive them again. No heart, we choose forgiveness again.
I was going to say, I'd like to say that it comes in stages, but that's not true because they reverse. You can be like, I've done it, and then you're not.
And then,
I'm going to share a story about a friend of mine. I'm not going to mention your name. I know you're watching. That
you know who
you know who you are. But she ran into somebody. Okay, so she has a history with a person. Her and her husband do, and it was they ended up heartbroken, and it was something that affected their entire lives. It wasn't just a small, word said or anything like that. A lot of things happened, and it was hurtful, and they had to work through it. It changed their lives, and then they had to work to change their lives back to the same kind of consistency that they had before. And now they've come out on the other side, that they've worked through it with the Lord, they've forgiven, they've done all these things. And then yesterday, they came face to face with that person for the first time in months and months and months since the incident happened. And my very good friend, actually our very good friend, looked at this person and was like, she had thought that she had forgiven and healed her heart, and she had really truly done the work,
right?
But then her flesh was pricked.
Yes.
And so you have to, there's a whole thing of working through it and choosing it every day.
Yes.
But one day you could be confronted in a way that what are you going to do in that?
What are you going to do in
that's
that?
a big thing of, okay, like, and then she's a wonderful Christian woman, and she's like, I understand that there's something in my heart that is not supposed to be there, and now I have to do the work again.
Yes.
And you have to be ready to do that work
over and over again.
At different levels. One day it might be little, and one day it might be tear-jerking, snot bubble. I have to forgive this person again.
Yeah, and I think that brings me into the other misconception that I had about forgiveness is I thought forgiveness was, I don't see you, and I don't hear from you, and I don't think about you, and I don't talk about you, and so I've forgiven, and I'm good. But that's actually avoidance.
Yeah.
Forgiveness and avoidance are not the same thing. Forgiveness is actually confronting it head on and facing it and saying, okay, I have to feel the emotions that go through this. I have to feel the hurt, the anger, the pain, all the things that go with this, and I have to work through it. Avoidance is saying, la, 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 don't think about you anymore, everything's fine, you know? And so not confusing forgiveness and avoidance, because if you think that you've forgiven somebody, say their name. Look at a picture of them. Talk about them for a minute and see what happens when you do that. And then you'll know, have I forgiven or have I avoided?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of work that goes with forgiveness. But it's a lot of heart work that goes with it. It's a lot of mind work that goes with it.
Go ahead. Don't forget about when you have severe trauma. I mean, like when you have sexual abuse, when you have battery, when you have severe trauma, whether it's from your childhood, from your teen years, from your adult years, and those are things, and you don't see that person anymore, and you have to forgive them, and that's a hard thing because you can forgive, and there are still trauma responses. There are still situations that may come up 20 years later that you weren't ready to face, and then it brings back everything, and you have to redo those things, and it's. I have people in my life that I have forgiven in the sense of verbally. Yes. I have done the hard work. I have sat and discussed, but not to the point of reliving it all the time, but still trying to bring things to light. And and to be honest, I don't feel that I have fully forgiven. And I believe and trust in our God that He is working in me and through me on this. And that I will be able to honestly say that I have completely forgiven this person. It's been a very hard one for me.
if you desire forgiveness and you are praying about it, the Lord will walk you into a place of it, you know. He will walk you to it, but it's going to be hard, and it's going to be ups and downs, and it's going to be months and years of not thinking about it, and then boom, one day there it is again, and you're like, Lord, why is this happening? And he's like, you asked me to help you forgive, you know.
And I have forgiven comparatively to when this started.
Yes.
So don't get me wrong on that. I just, as a Christian woman, can't honestly look somebody in the face and say, yes, I am full blown
forgiven. I'm good.
Amen. Like I can't do it. And I have that feeling that if I have that situation, which I witnessed yesterday between friends, that I think my flesh would be more pricked.
Yes.
So I'm ready for that in a sense.
Yes, in a sense.
In a sense.
But we need God sometimes to rip those Band-Aids off and dig those scars out and say, hey, there's infection here. There's not good here. Like, we need to work through that because, you know, forgiveness, like we talked about, it affects so many different areas. For unforgiveness, it hardens your heart. It makes you keep people at an arm's length. You know, it makes you afraid to build relationships. Unforgiveness does all kinds of crazy things in you. You know, it makes you say things that you shouldn't be saying. It makes you do things that you shouldn't be doing. And as long as you have those things in you, you can't work through it, you know?
What do you think, Brittany, if you never forgave your husband or your children for any of the things that they do that break your heart as a mother? Do you think, what do you think life would be like?
It'd be miserable, you know, and it would be choosing to not forgive. It would be choosing to have a miserable life. It would be choosing every day because
you turn into a bitter old lady.
Bitter and
a bitter and lonely old lady. You know,
because with all the people that outwardly hurt you that aren't the people that are the closest to you will hurt you the most.
Yes. Yeah, and that's I was going to read Colossians 3. 12 through, I don't know, we'll go there.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, it says, since God has chose you to be holy, people he loves, you must clothe yourselves with tender-hearted mercy, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Make allowance for each other's faults and forgive anyone who offends you. Remember, the Lord forgave you, so you must forgive others. And above all, clothe yourself in love, which binds up all together in perfect harmony. And let the peace that comes from Christ rule in your hearts. For as members of one body, you are called to live in peace and always be thankful. So I just love that. And of course, we're not perfect in that whatsoever. But I also, you know, love 13 is make allowance for each other's faults, you know. And I even think about even at home, you know, my husband and my children see the rawness of me. They see every bit of rawness of me, every bit of my anger, every bit of my attitude, every bit of my heart. Sometimes, if I'm being honest, my family gets the worst of me, you know. But the beautiful part is I know that they will forgive me over and over and over. And we choose to love. It's just like love. We choose to love. We got to choose to forgive, you know. We got to choose to be kind. We got to choose to be, you know, and of course, like I said, we're not perfect at it at all. You know, went downhill last night. It's not, you know what I mean? But, you know, the beautiful part is we choose to forgive each other and allow each other's faults, you know.
I think that that's such an important key to forgiveness too, is we as humans want to look at me. And this is what you've done to hurt me. And this is how you've made me mad. And this is what you did to me. And me. But if we get outside of that for a second, especially with the people in our lives that we're trying to forgive and the people in our lives that we're trying to work through this with, and we say, how have I hurt you? What did I do to you? And start listing those things off and putting our focus not on what you've done to me, but on what I've done to you. That's a huge breakthrough in working through forgiveness, you know. And some of the things, it's like, I didn't do anything. You ran up and you did something to me and I didn't know you and I didn't do anything. But 90% of the things in your life, the people you have to forgive, you've done things to them too, you know. And if you can turn the focus around and say, okay, what have I done to hurt them? And you start listing those things off and you start saying, wow, I wasn't totally innocent in this situation. You know, like you said with your family, like my family sees my attitude. They see my anger. My family sees my times when I'm being lazy and don't want to get up and do anything, when I'm being ungrateful for things, you know, and I want forgiveness for those things. But how can I expect them to forgive me and be kind to me when I'm not doing that to them?
Yep.
You know, you have to do to others as you want them done to you. And these things in these scriptures, they are commands. It's not a, you know, maybe you should
Pick and
do this,
choose.
or if you feel like doing this. Like,
I like
it
verse
is,
13, but I don't like verse 16.
yes. Or, you know, I'll do it with you, but I'm not going to do it with them.
Right,
you know, and that's not the way that scripture works. Like, these are commands. And this is what God says is if you're going to live out this life and you are going to call yourself a follower of Christ, this is what you do.
Yes.
And you may not be perfect in it, and you may fall on your face 100 times working on it, but you get up and you continue to work on it, and you
Yes.
don't give up.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the best teachings that I've ever heard on forgiveness, he compares it to a laptop, right? And he says, if I have a laptop, or maybe he says an iPad, I don't think that matters, but he says, if I have a laptop, right, and I let you use it, and you break the screen off of that laptop, and you come up to me and you say, I'm sorry that I broke your laptop. I'm sorry that I did that. Will you forgive me? And I say, yeah, it was $1,200. Buy me a new one and I'll forgive you. That's not forgiveness. The Bible mentions forgiveness as in debts, right? If I were to forgive you, it would be to say, it's okay. You owe me nothing. And that was one of the biggest things that I had to learn in forgiveness, was that these people that I said that I forgive, I still felt like they owed me something. You owe me an apology. You owe me, you know, admitting that you were wrong. You owe me doing something for me to make up for it. You owe me these things. But forgiveness is canceling that debt and saying, you owe me nothing. I forgive that. You don't owe me anything. It's just like in the Lord's Prayer, forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. We have a debt to God. But there are these people that we feel like owe us a debt. And whatever it may be, you know, like, I'm not going to talk to you. Well, that's you owing me something. You know, you owe me my silence. And to forgive it is to say, you owe me nothing. The record, the slate is clear, and you don't owe me anything. And that is a level of forgiveness that is hard to get to. But it's what I really try and keep in the forefront of my mind whenever I'm trying to forgive somebody is, what do I feel like they owe me, and how can I cancel that debt?
And to piggyback off of that, I just want to make the statement that boundaries are still okay.
Yes. Yes.
So if you have a issue with somebody and you're honestly, because the Lord doesn't call us to be peacekeepers, he calls us to be peacemakers.
Say that one again.
He doesn't call us to be peacekeepers. He calls us to be peacemakers.
Yes.
So if you are genuinely out to make peace and someone is not willing to reach out
Right.
and do that with you, it is okay to set a boundary.
Yes.
Dust your feet off, leave the city.
Right.
And I was listening to a sermon the other day, and he had said something about that, and that he'd said that Jesus, the Lord, expects a return on his investment. Okay, and if you are genuinely reaching out, it is okay to set a boundary, forgive them from a distance, and then let the Lord work on what they're doing in their lives with him.
Because here's the thing is, if you are a narcissist and you are a jerk, Brittany, you're my narcissist, you're my jerk, and you're mean and you're hurtful, right?
Yes.
And I forgive you for the things that happen, but I know that the Lord hasn't changed your heart. And I know that you are still that person. I forgive you and I cancel the debt, and you owe me nothing, and I love you and I still welcome you in with open arms, but I can still have the boundary to say, I'm not going to let you hurt me in that way anymore.
Yes.
It's okay to forgive and still have boundaries, but don't let the enemy twist those boundaries into, you know, hating them and being bitter with them and keeping a shut door towards them, and they still owe you these things. That's not the same thing.
You can be a peacemaker and still have
Yes.
space.
I love you and I welcome you, and I, you know, whatever, but I'm not going to let you in to a point where you can hurt me anymore. And
Yes.
that's okay.
That is okay.
That's okay to say, you've hurt me in the past. Like you're talking about with that sexual trauma and the physical abuse and the things like that. Like I've had to forgive people that have done those things to me. It doesn't mean I invite them into my house.
No.
It doesn't mean that I invite them to come over and do those things, because I know what will happen. I know what will happen if I do that. I forgive you and you owe me no debt. Your debt is cleared, but I still keep you over here at a safe boundary. And if you ever called me and needed anything, I got you. I pray for you. I love you. I would do anything to help you, but I have to keep a boundary there, and not just for me, for my children, for my marriage, for my family, for my friends, I have to keep that boundary there. And so it's finding that right balance in forgiveness. And it's a balance that you can't find on your own.
No.
It's a balance that the Lord has to lead you in and help you find, because the balance with this person is not going to be the same as the balance with that person. And the balance that she found with that person is not going to be the same balance that I find with that person. You have to find what the Lord has for you. And I think, some of the biggest keys with forgiveness are, number one, prayer. Prayer. You have to go through it prayerfully and spirit-led. Number two, stop looking at yourself and everything that they've done to you and turn the lens around and look at what you've done. Number three, look at how much God has forgiven you for and how much the Lord has been gracious to you for.
Do you deserve it?
Do you deserve it? Absolutely not. And number four is healthy boundaries are okay, but don't let the enemy pervert that and make you think that avoidance and anger and bitterness are healthy boundaries, because they're not.
Remember, the enemy lies to you by twisting the truth.
Yes. Yes.
So.
He'll take a little piece of truth and turn it into a lie and make you think that you're in freedom when you're not. You're not. So forgiveness is tough, and it's hard to walk through, and it requires work. And it requires feeling emotions, which we're not very good at, and working through those emotions in a healthy way. But it's worth it. It's worth it.
I'm always going to bring it back to having a good, godly company. Because
Yes.
it's okay when you have those times when you're like, I forgive this person, but I don't, and I need to work through this. That you have somebody who can lead you in the correct direction and not feed your anger.
Yes.
Um,
And somebody who can tell you, hey, you haven't forgiven. You're being a jerk. You haven't, and it's not okay. You're not following scripture right now. You're not doing what the Lord says right now. And somebody who can be honest with you about those things and pull that stuff out in you when you need it, right?
and it's not very nice.
It's not very nice.
It's not very nice at all. My husband made a comment last night about how, and he's very correct, that men don't, how did he word it? Anyway, men are more primal, women are more emotional, and they don't necessarily feed their emotions. Thanks, Brian.
Speaking
But-
of husbands.
I know, right? But and he's right, and I've been on this kick lately where if we're a shadow, if we're an image of God, right? If we bear the image of God and He gave us emotions in this way, then it has to be some type of shadow of something that's within Him.
Right.
I believe that it is something that we couldn't comprehend with our
Right.
human brain,
Yeah.
but there's something there.
And He does it righteously.
He does it righteously, and scientifically, biologically, men are the hunter-gatherers, and they're made strong. They have emotion, right? But they're made strong so that they can go out and kill and drag it back, right?
Right.
Women are made emotional so that they can comfort their children, they can take care of their children, they can raise up a family.
Yes.
That they are gentle but still firm with their children, and then that coming together creates the
whole
picture.
Yes.
And then you can share the strengths of your husband, and he can share the strengths of your sensitivity.
Right.
When you come together. And so God made us this way.
Yes.
Like this is how we are literally like made internally. But just like everything else that God has gifted us with, we twist it and we dilute it and we make it something different. And so one of the things we do, especially as women, is we focus on these emotions.
Yes.
We live in these emotions. We turn them into entire playgrounds and carnivals.
Yes.
We ride all the rides.
Uh-huh.
We try to collect all the stuffed animals, no matter how many times we lose, and then we leave empty.
Yes.
And then we live, and then we go back for more. And so
we live in a place of a roller coaster of emotions. I feel this, and I feel that, and I'm angry, and I'm happy, and I'm sad, and I'm mad, and we ride these emotions all day long. But your feelings are not the truth.
They are not.
the truth.
They all lie to you. Anger is a secondary emotion. I think that men live more in a sense of fear that produces anger. Anxiety is something humankind shares, period.
Yes. Yeah.
And those are emotions, and you can trick yourself. You ever been so upset with somebody because you haven't forgiven them and you've come across them, and all of a sudden it goes from I can't believe that to anxiety, like did they see me, to like I can't believe they didn't even look at me.
Yes.
And you roll through
Yes.
every emotion because we twist and we can't settle on anything. We will flip through it. You have to rule over your emotions.
Well, and I think those emotions too, they keep you from healing. You know,
Yeah.
it's like I was talking to Brittany the other day, and I was like, as long as I am bitter and I'm angry and I'm all of these things, my heart can't be broken. And, God says that he despises the proud and he's close to the humble. God says that he is close to the brokenhearted. So if I want God to be near me in this, I have to be humble and brokenhearted. And as long as I am angry and I am bitter and I am talking smack and all the stuff that goes with it, I'm not humbled and broken. But when I get to the place where I really let my heart be broken about these situations, and I really let my heart be broken about these people, and I really let my heart be broken about these things, and I humble myself, that's when God can step in and bring healing,
Because God doesn't say don't be angry. He says don't sin in your anger.
Right.
And God doesn't say don't be sad. He tells us that we can be filled with sorrow. But the thing is, the difference between us and an unbeliever is that we have hope.
Yeah.
And so you can't be sorrowful without hope. That's where you are crossing the line.
Yeah.
He created us with emotions. And so to rule over those emotions and to identify things and to have people that can help you identify those things will help you with your journey in forgiveness. It doesn't hurt, it helps.
Yes.
Because if you continuously snatch up that root of bitterness, you can't forgive if you're bitter.
Yeah.
You can't. It's
You can't. You won't.
you can't hold them both in the same hand. It just
Right.
doesn't work.
Both won't grow.
And forgiveness is such a beautiful gift from God, you know. So
it is.
It's really, if we look at it that way and see it that way, as He does, and forgiving us, it's such a beautiful gift, and becoming Him, becoming in the image of Him, and how much He forgives. It's just such a beautiful gift from Him. So
Yeah.
You know what's hard about that? The Bible tells us that He forgives and remembers no more.
So we're like, I'll forgive, but I won't forget. That line is not.
No. Because while you're saying I'll forgive and not forget, what you really are is bitter and still holding on to it.
And you're also basically saying, I will bring it up every time.
Yes. All right. That goes back to the you owe me nothing. That goes back to the canceling the debt, Yeah. And so I really want to end with this, and I want to say that forgiveness is possible. I remember a time in my life when I thought forgiveness was impossible. I remember a time in my life when I thought I would never get there, but it is possible. It takes work, and it's ugly, and it takes tears and humility and all of the things, but it is so worth it.
Yes.
And like Brittany said, it is so beautiful. And I just encourage you today, if there is somebody in your life that you have not forgiven, if there are things in your life that you haven't worked through, if you've been listening to this video and you've thought, wow, what I thought was forgiveness actually isn't forgiveness, please reach out to somebody and let them pray with you and walk you through these things and help you with these things, because it is worth it. And it is like a level up in your relationship with God. When you choose to let those things go and you lay it down and you cancel that debt, it's like an automatic level up in your relationship with God. And it's so beautiful and it's so worth it. And it's just another part of laying ourselves down on the altar and saying, God, you can cut away whatever you want to cut away. You can have whatever you want to have. I will lay down whatever you want me to lay down because I want you and nothing else. I want you more than I want them to apologize. I want you more than I want to be justified. I want you more than I want to be repaid. I want you, and I will lay it all down because you are worth it all. And it is worth it. Please walk through the thing of forgiveness. It's worth it.
That was great.
Yeah.
All right.
Right.
All right. Hey, peace.